You're listening to the School Leadership Reimagined podcast, episode 67.
Welcome to the School Leadership Reimagined podcast, where we rethink what's possible to transform your school. If you're tired of settling for small wins and incremental improvement, then stay tuned to discover powerful and practical strategies for getting every teacher in your school moving towards excellence. Now, here's your host, Robyn Jackson.
Hey builders, welcome to another episode of the School Leadership Reimagined podcast. I'm your host, Robyn Jackson, and today we are going to talk about how to get real change out of the people in your school. Now, right now, we are still in the midst of quarantine. Many of us got news this week that our schools would not be opening up for the rest of the year. Others of us are still in a bit of uncertainty about whether or not schools will be opened up for the rest of the year. We have a couple of weeks of distance learning under our belts, so we are still dealing with some of the ups and downs that come with that. And, I'm talking to a lot of administrators inside of our Mind Steps pop-up group, and they are telling me that they are just so tired. They have been working around the clock to make sure that their students are okay, to get their teachers up and running and get their teachers the support that they need. And they are exhausted. They're being peppered with questions from parents, from students, from teachers, and they don't have a lot of answers right now. There are so many things that are still uncertain. And if you are like some of the administrators that I've been working with this week, I just want you to know that you're not alone. This is exhausting and it can feel overwhelming. And I just want to applaud those of you who are still showing up every day, who are putting on a brave face for everybody else, even when you don't feel very brave inside. I've been saying this for the last few weeks, but at Mind Steps, one of the things that we always talk about is that we help you build your school into a success story with the resources and the people that you already have. And I honestly believe that we have a tremendous opportunity ahead of us. At some point, sometime in the future, we are going to look back on this time and we're going to tell the story about how our schools made it through. And the things that you are doing right now are helping you to earn a success story. You see, you don't want to be a cautionary tale. You don't want to look back on this time sometime in the future and say, yeah, we shouldn't have done it that way. Yeah, that was a bad decision. We did that and, it really didn't turn out well. You don't want to be a cautionary tale. And so you have to make sure that the actions that you are taking today don't turn your school into a cautionary tale. And instead, you are making sure that the actions that you're taking right now are building the success story that you want to tell sometime in the future. And I know it's hard. And if you need help, we have a Mind Steps pop-up group, and I am in there every single day. We are offering training and support, and I'm doing office hours once or twice a week where I'm just on the line and you can pop in, ask a question, talk about a challenge that you're facing, and then pop out. We have resources there. So just know that you are not alone. You don't have to face this alone. We are here to help you turn your school into a success story. We're here to help you take action right now so that you can earn the success story about your school that you're going to tell and how you made it through this time sometime in the near future. I also want to remind you about Builders Lab, because the longer we go through this crisis, the more and more I believe and become convinced that the things that we teach you to do at Builders Lab are necessary. Our Builders Lab alumni are facing some of the same challenges that everyone else is facing right now, and yet they're thriving because they have the tools to help them manage the challenge. You see, if you've been relying on strategies or you've been relying on tricks or programs, you're finding that those strategies and tricks and programs are failing you right now in the midst of the crisis. But if you're relying on principles and disciplines, the kinds of things that we teach you at Builders Lab, then those things are giving you the foundation so that you can deal with uncertainty, and they're allowing you to be very flexible without having to go and learn something new or figure something new out. They're teaching you how to be flexible in the midst of crisis. And so people have been asking us whether or not we are going to still have Builders Lab. We have 2 Builders Labs coming up this summer. One is going to be right outside of Washington, D.C. at the end of June, and the other one is going to be in Las Vegas, Nevada at the end of July. And as of now, we are still having it. We are still planning on having a live event. Of course, we are going to have to take a lot of precautions and make sure that everybody is safe, and we're going to follow the guidelines. But right now, it looks like those live events are still on. However, we are going to have Builders Lab whether or not we are able to meet in person or we are able to meet virtually. And so we have some things that we are working on right now, and I can't share everything with you right now, but in the next couple of weeks, I will be letting you know more about what that looks like, but you can rest assured we will be having Builders Lab this summer. So if you want to get your ticket to Builders Lab, simply go to mindstepsinc.com/builders-lab. That's mindstepsinc.com/builders-lab. And I've already mentioned our MindSteps pop-up group. That has been really one of my huge sources of sanity throughout this crisis. You know, one of the sayings that I've heard recently is that when you get nervous, focus on service. And it certainly has been true for me as I've been working inside of the MindSteps pop-up group. It has been my honor to serve the builders who are inside of that group, to give you the help that you need, to have that contact with you that I'm able to have. Now, it's a pop-up group. We won't keep it open forever, but right now you have a free opportunity to get new professional development every single week. You have an opportunity to pick my brain and get my help with solving your challenges. You have opportunities to get access to some of the new resources that we've been creating to support administrators as they are responding to this crisis and coaches as they're responding to this crisis. And so if you'd like to join us in the pop-up group, it will be open for the next few weeks still. And you can also access some of the archives from some of the trainings and resources we've done in the past. Simply go to mindstepsinc.com and then look on that page, and there'll be a link there for you to join the pop-up group. And I hope I see you inside. All right, so let's talk about our topic for today, which is really about how to get meaningful and lasting change out of the people that you are building. And one of the challenges that I'm seeing right now that a lot of administrators are facing is that they are struggling to get all of their teachers providing meaningful learning experiences for students as we deal with distance and remote learning. Some of these teachers were resistant prior to the crisis, and others have shown new resistance in the crisis because they are dealing with their own angst or their own discomfort with technology. And so they are struggling right now. And administrators are trying to walk a fine line between helping people be accountable and being the bad guy. So one of the things that we've been kind of talking about inside of the MindSteps pop-up group is how do you navigate that line? And it's also something that we've been doing. We're in the middle of a 4-discipline implementation sprint where I'm working with a select group of builders and using this week to build all of the tools that they will need to be able to manage and build their staff online. So on Monday, we talked about how to give people feedback. And Tuesday, we talked about strategies for supporting your teachers. And Wednesday, today, we talked about how to help everyone be accountable. And Thursday, we're going to be talking about how do you build a healthy culture when everyone's working remotely. We also have a vault. So we've been talking a lot about the struggle with how do we give people feedback Are we even allowed to go into their online classrooms and spaces? And what do we do when we see instruction that isn't quite right? And what's really acceptable right now? I'm also seeing a lot of frustration because people are meeting resistance, and that resistance is becoming even more profound the longer that we are working remotely and the longer that we're under quarantine and the longer that we are dealing with uncertainty. And a lot of people are grappling with, how do I get people to change? It was hard enough when we were face to face every single day, but now working remotely, it's even harder. And so I have a mind stepsism for you. This week's mind stepsism is, nobody likes to be changed but a baby. Now, that one originally came from my mom. My mom does a lot of work with infants in her career, and she always says, nobody likes to be changed but a baby. And the first time I heard it, I cracked up because it's hilarious to me. But the more I think about it, the more it's true. People are all for change. They just don't want to be changed. And so as you're working with teachers right now, especially because everyone is on 10, everyone's on edge. If you go to teachers and try to change them, good luck. It's not going to happen. Nobody likes to be changed but a baby. And right now, we're asking a tremendous amount of change from teachers. They're having to, in a very short period of time, rethink how they teach, how they assess students, how they track records, how they stay in touch with students. They're having to change everything about their practice. And I know that we want everyone to get online and get things going and to make sure that we're still providing a quality education for our students. But we also need to recognize that this is really, really hard. And it's not only hard because teachers are having to quickly acquire a new skill set. It's hard because nobody likes to be changed but a baby. So what I want to share with you are 3 things that you can do that will increase your success in helping people navigate this change and making sure that people navigate the change successfully. This will also help you with overcoming a lot of resistance to change that you may be facing right now. So the first thing is that you need to make sure that the changes you are asking people to make align with your vision, mission, and core values. It will be a lot easier to get people to make changes if they align with your vision, mission, and core values than it will be to have them make changes that are out of alignment. The motivation that you're looking for right now comes from the work that you did 2 months ago, 3 months ago, 4 weeks ago, where you are working on helping people align around your vision, mission, and core values to buy into that. If they buy into that, as long as the changes that you're asking of them align with your vision, mission, and core values, they're more likely to make it. I'll tell you a quick story. I was doing a training series with a group of administrators in a school district, and we were talking about vision, mission, and core values and how they had to be apparent in every part of what they were doing as a school. And so I was training them on how they could align their master schedule to their vision, mission, and core values. And they were working individually. And I went to a table where I saw a principal who was just not working. And I checked in with him and he says, "Oh no, my master schedule is good." And so I asked to take a look at his master schedule and he showed it to me. And I said, "What's your vision, mission, and core values?" Because right now, what I'm seeing in the master schedule doesn't align with what I thought you had worked on for your vision, mission, and core values. And he said, "Well, one of our core values is students first." And I looked at his master schedule again and I said, "Well, your master schedule does not align with your core values." And he said, "What do you mean?" And we started looking at it. One of the things they were doing is they were piling on the number of academic classes that his 6th graders had in the morning. And then after lunch, the kids had lunch, then PE, then fine arts, then something else, advisory for the rest of the day. And I said, "Why does the schedule look like this? Why are all the academic classes piled up in the morning?" And he said, "Well, if we do it that way, the teachers can have a solid 2 hours of planning and lunch, and the teachers really like that." And I said, "What was your core value again?" And then he looked at me and he says, I can't go back to my staff. I can't ask them to change the master schedule. They love this schedule. And so I told him, you either are going to have to change your master schedule or you're going to have to change your core values, one of the two. A couple of weeks later, I went back for the next training in the series and he handed me something and I said, what is this? And he goes, it's our new master schedule. And I looked at it and it was perfectly aligned with the core values. And I said, wow, how did you get this done? He said, well, I went back to the teachers and I said, we either are going to have to change the master schedule or we're going to have to change our core values. And I told them why, and they chose to change the schedule. There's no way that he would have been able to have rammed that schedule down their throats. They would have fought him tooth and nail. But because the change he was asking for was so aligned with the core values they believed in, they made the changes themselves. He did not have to change them. They made the changes on their own. So the first thing you need to do is you need to make sure that the changes that you're asking teachers to make right now, are they aligned with your vision, mission, and core values? If they are, then it's much more likely that the teachers will be willing to change than if they aren't. I'll give you another example. There's a school I'm working with, and their vision for students is that students will grow in their literacy in 5 core areas. So this is an elementary school, and they're wanting students to, by the time they leave, they should be literate in language arts, math, science, social studies, and social emotional literacy. And the principal is asking them to get X number of assignments online each week. And the teachers are trying to craft quality assignments around literacy, but the principal is pushing a lot of supplementary websites, games, things like that, because the principal's under a lot of pressure from parents to get assignments up. Parents want their kids to have work to do. And so some of the things that the principal is asking teachers to send out to parents is not designed to promote student literacy. And so the teachers are pushing back because they feel that they are being asked to kind of inundate kids with just any and every resource just to get a resource up there without really paying attention to how those resources are going to promote student literacy. And so they are more resistant to the change because it doesn't align with their vision, mission, and core values. So the first step is make sure that the changes you're asking of teachers aligns with your vision, mission, and core values. The next one is that you need to make the change simple. A lot of times people will go with the path of least resistance. And so if you're asking for some big dramatic change on top of the big dramatic change that teachers are already facing right now, good luck. It's not going to happen. You need to make any changes that you're asking teachers to make as simple as possible. In some cases, you're asking teachers to use new technology. What kind of support are you giving teachers to make using technology simple? In other cases, you're asking teachers to communicate with students and families in a way that's vastly different from the way that they've communicated in the past. How can you simplify it? One of the principals inside of the Mindsteps pop-up group has been working really hard, and she's been trying a lot of different ways to collect information from teachers or to have teachers track data. And so what she did is she piloted several different ways to give teachers feedback, to send teachers information, and then she asked teachers, which one do you like the best? And in every single case, the teachers chose the one that was easiest. This is a lot right now. And the more you can simplify the changes that you're asking teachers to make, the better. So is there a technology that you want teachers to use? If so, what can you do to make that easy for teachers to use? Is there a certain communication cadence that you want from teachers? How can you make that easier for teachers? Make the change simple. Here's the third one. You're going to have to reinforce the systems that you're setting up. A lot of us are trying to get systems up and then we're off to something else. And then we look up 3 weeks later and we're like, wait a minute, I thought you guys were doing this. And we hadn't checked on them in 3 weeks. I'm guilty of this myself. I mean, even internally at Mindsteps, we're having to revamp some of the things that we're doing. And I am not as vigilant about reinforcing some of the systems that we're setting up. And so we're starting to see that things are falling through the cracks. And so we're having to kind of come back, and I'm having to make a more deliberate effort to reinforce the system. And what do I mean by reinforce the system? If we have a communication cadence, I need to make sure that I am not communicating to people outside of the system that we've established for how we communicate. No exceptions, because if I do, I undermine the system that I set up. For you, it may mean the same thing, but for you, it also may mean that if you're asking teachers to use a particular instructional approach in their online meetings, that you are visiting those classrooms and reinforcing teachers who are using that system. And for the teachers who aren't using that system yet, you're providing follow-up support. You're giving them non-evaluative feedback so that everybody is using the system. If you have a communication cadence with families that you expect teachers to use, are you also following that? Are you following up with teachers to make sure that it's happening? Everybody is trying to figure this out, and everybody's also dealing with the fact that they are not in school. They're working from home. We're being distracted by all kinds of things, whether that's Netflix or kids. And so you need to make sure that once you establish a system or ask for a change, that you are following up in the next few weeks to make sure that the change is happening. Otherwise, it's easy to fall through the cracks. Okay, this last piece, really important. Remember I said nobody likes to be changed but a baby? Well, it's true, but it's also true about us too. As much as we want teachers to change, how are we demonstrating our own willingness to change? Are we being flexible? Are we showing resiliency and grit in the way that we're handling the work? If you are not being the change that you want to see, then forget about seeing that change happen in any kind of, school-wide way. Nobody likes to be changed but a baby. And so we have to remember that not only when we're working with our teachers, we need to remember it when we are going through change as well. And we need to model what it means to actually make change so that we can grow our schools. We need to model the behaviors that we want from our teachers. So I keep saying this. Anything that you're asking of your teachers should be something that you already have demonstrated your willingness to do yourself. It may not be the exact same thing. So, for instance, you may want teachers to make so many contacts with kids every single week. Well, are you making so many contacts with teachers every single week? You may want teachers to design meaningful learning experiences for students. Well, are you designing meaningful faculty meetings for your staff? You have to be the change you want to see. You can't just tell other people to do it. Remember, bosses say go. Leaders say let's go and you figure it out together, but builders say come. It means that I've already made the change first. And now I'm inviting you to join me in this change because it will relate to our vision, mission, and core values this way, because it's simpler and it'll make your life easier. And because I'm going to reinforce that change by giving you the support and feedback you need to make sure you're successful. You do that and you'll get change like a builder. All right, that's it for this week. We are talking more about how to help your teachers make the changes that you want to see, how to give them the support they need, how to give them feedback without being the bad guy, how to help them to be accountable so that you don't spend your day chasing, checking, and correcting them, but instead you've empowered them to take ownership over their own practice and to be accountable to your vision, mission, and core values. And how do you establish a healthy online culture and keep toxicity from raiding your culture and weaponizing your culture against you? We're doing all of that inside of something that we're calling the 4 disciplines sprint. We're going through it this week, and we've had such a positive response that we are probably going to get another sprint going. Now, during the sprint, we do several different things. So every single day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, we meet for 90 minutes. And that 90 minutes is not a training. That 90 minutes is designed to help you actually get stuff done. So we call it a GSD session, where we send you resources ahead of time. And then when you get on the training, we actually use those resources to set up feedback schedules. We use those resources to design surveys that we're going to send to parents and students and to our teachers. We use those resources to design a feedback instrument and process that we can use with our teachers. We use those resources to set up support structures and to create teacher dashboards where we can keep track of what teachers are doing. So every single day when we meet together online, you set up one system. On Monday, we do the feedback system. On Tuesday, we do a support system for your teachers. On Wednesday, we do an accountability system. And then on Thursday, we design your online remote learning healthy school culture. By the end of the week, you have all 4 systems completely set up. Plus, you have access to a resource vault that has templates and tools and exemplars that you can use to get everything set up. And then not only that, we don't just leave you hanging after those 4 days. We offer 30 days of follow-up because the situation is changing rapidly. So if you need to make adjustments, if new things happen, if all of a sudden now we are going back to school, we'll show you how to transition. We're going to help you walk through this time period. So we are already into one sprint. We're finishing up the one this week. And so far it's been really amazing. And we're probably going to do another sprint in 2 weeks. And if you'd like to join us, simply go to mindstepsinc.com/sprint. That's mindstepsinc.com/sprint. And you can get on the waiting list so that when we do the next sprint, you can join us. All right. Thanks again for joining me. And I'll talk to you next time where I'm coming at you with another Mind Stepsism. I'll see you then.
Thank you for listening to the School Leadership Reimagined podcast. For show notes and free downloads, visit schoolleadershipreimagined.com. School Leadership Reimagined is brought to you by MindSteps, Inc., where we build master teachers.